Hey guys, welcome to Unkick the Bucket, changing your algorithm together. I'm your host, Stephen Tilley. That is my name. A lot of you who are checking in on this today might recognize me as Father Stephen Tilley, and that's what most of you guys called me for the last 6, 7 years of my life and your life. And that kind of changed 2 months ago when I stepped away from ministry and my life pivoted. And it pivoted because I wanted a family, but also because I wanted to dive into real estate and just explore the world in a different way. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, kind of exploring what friendship is about. And I want to introduce a few people here. I got Brody Wallen, Miranda Wallen, and Fisher Wallen. They're all Wallens, but they're all good friends on this one. And I grabbed them intentionally because I've been part of their lives for quite a bit. I did Brody and Miranda's wedding, and I baptized their son Creed. And we've been kind of friends from a distance for a little bit. And I'm hoping that kind of changes because I don't want to be as distant anymore. About 6, 7 months ago, it was this 10-year-old girl's birthday party. And what she wanted to do is she wanted to go see the new Superman movie. Maybe it was more than 6 or 7 months ago. It was, 9 months ago. And she really wanted to see the movie. So we took her out to this movie. And then we took her out to me, her mom, the kids, some friends. It was a big joint effort. And we actually went to go see the Superman movie. Then went to Smash Burger. Shake Shack. Thank you. I've told this story many times to them. Shake Shack. And all they wanted to talk about the whole time was K-pop Demon Hunters. That's it. And I was blown away because I've never seen K-pop Demon Hunters. And have you guys ever seen K-pop Demon Hunters?
I have not.
No.
Okay, so K-pop Demon Hunters was wildly viral with these kids. It was 6'7" before 6'7" was 6'7", right? It was all they talked about was K-pop Demon Hunters. And they wanted me to take a test on which person I was as the Demon Hunter. And I took the test and I was the guy. And I was happy about that, but apparently the guy was not that cool. It was all the girl demon hunters that were the really, really, really cool ones. And I was so blown away by this because I went to the elementary school and everyone was talking about K-pop Demon Hunters, K-pop Demon Hunters, K-pop Demon Hunters. And I decided to write a homily about the K-pop Demon Hunters, and I watched it. And what it was about patterns. Like what the demons were in our lives was patterns, things that we wake up and we kind of do almost on autopilot. We allow our wounds, our fears, all those things to dictate how we act and how we treat people. And how we actually overcome those is that we actually kind of acknowledge our patterns so that we can change our patterns. And so what I decided to do is I wrote a homily. And I gave a homily for this. Whenever I wrote a homily, I sometimes thought about writing it for a particular person, and then it wound up being good for everybody. And that's what kind of worked here. I wrote it in that little 10-year-old girl in mind, right? But then it wound up becoming like a hit with all the kids. Because the pattern that I kind of want to change is the way we see God, the way we see ourselves, and the way we see other people. Specifically for this podcast, I wanted to change the way that we see ourselves and that we see other people. Like when Jesus Christ says, there is no greater love than this, than to lay down your life for one's friends. I think he meant it. And I think he meant that one of the greatest virtues we could give to ourselves and society is to become best friends with ourselves and to best friend with our neighbor. And so I created kind of Unkick the Bucket, which is kind of like this fun game that helps you build friends, helps you strengthen families. It's kind of like show and tell of the human heart. And so today, I want to introduce you to these 3 new friends that I have. Specifically, Fisher, who is kind of our special guest today, because even though this is our first episode, Miranda and Brody have kind of played Unkick the Bucket with me, but Fisher, you've never played Unkick the Bucket.
Nope.
And so welcome. Welcome to Unkick the Bucket.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Now, Fisher, there's a couple things you do. In real life, you're kind of like an auto sell. You sell cars and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't really want to talk to you about selling cars. I want to talk to you about something that's been kind of bigger in your heart, and that's kind of something that you, Brody, and Miranda have kind of in common, which is this desire to help people in their fitness journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys have actually started kind of a clothing company, and you guys have started a kind of a wellness or a fitness company, one called Mindset, and then shifted to True Metal.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like you guys to just tell me about that journey, because I generally haven't heard the story from you guys that much. Like, what made you do what you guys do?
Mm-hmm. So originally, it was actually started before I was involved with it. Brody started it, and the whole thing was it kind of started as a light idea with like a clothing brand and fitness, but with how much fitness has changed our lives and the way we just see literally everything from productivity to how you treat people to all that stuff kind of is all tied into fitness. Um, and then he started before me, and then I jumped on board kind of because obviously he was my brother and I liked what he was doing. Um, but a big core like value is that it's like your fortitude and willingness to deal with difficult situations, and obviously like getting in shape, whether you're starting skinnier or fatter, and figuring it out is a very difficult thing to figure out. But you learn a lot about yourself, about how you do in these difficult situations. So we're like, we want a brand that you can wear while you're on this journey, like figuring yourself out, that can help you stay motivated, remind you why you started. Um, he might have some more insight on it, but that's kind of my end of it.
Yeah, no, when I started the whole thing, so I started working out and I was inspired by this guy named Greg Plitt and some videos that he had and everything, and the way that he spoke and tied, like Fisher said, fitness into your daily life. And so I started just putting it into action, when I was in high school, and then just doing that, just actually like doing what you say and then meaning what you say, actually started changing my life. And I started thinking clearer, and like the results started coming in, and then I started gaining more confidence. And then it would almost highlight everybody that wasn't doing it, and it made me like kind of feel bad, because it was actually, the answer was so simple that I wanted to figure out a way that I could basically take that mentality and like give it to other people to a degree. And I've always been kind of like an artistic person, and creating designs was one way that I've always expressed myself through school and things like that, with like whatever posters, art projects, things like that. And I guess that's just what made clothing become the way that I was going to pour myself out to, everybody else with what I had learned about fitness and, really that self-improvement journey that I think a lot of people are afraid to go to start, because you're venturing into the unknown. You don't know what people are going to say about you or anything like that. And that's initially what got it started, was that. And so I started creating designs, and I had to come up with a name, and I started with Mindset because mindset was the only word that I could really come up with that encompassed like the whole journey as a whole, because it really starts in your mind and in your heart, really. But in your mind, if you want to be, scientific about it, because there's a lot of things to learn when it comes to your fitness journey and your self-improvement journey, and it all starts in your mind. So that's why I started with Mindset.
So can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Like, how did you change your mind? Like, was there a process that you did either in the evening or in the morning or during the day that actually helped kind of shape the way you change your mind? Because I actually agree with you. Because one of the things that I think is, if like you wake up in the morning and you decide you want to see like good things, you're going to find good things. And if you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm going to find bad things, you're going to find bad things, right? Like your mindset towards how you approach the day actually affects how you see yourself and how you see other people. In your journey, is there any like practical things that you did?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind when like I really had the initial shift from being where I was to where I am now and everything was honestly just being in a really emotional state was the first thing that, like I got sick and tired of being sick and tired of the emotional scenario that I was in. This is back in high school. So, I mean, I've gone through multiple other things that you can almost repeat this process throughout life to keep yourself going, which we could get into a little bit later or whatever. But it really was just, like I said, getting sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then kind of essentially maybe humbling yourself a little bit, because my mom was actually one of the first people that suggested, like, oh, go work out. That's what people do. People go work out. And then I just did it because I didn't know what else to do.
How old were you?
I was
when you were taking it serious.
when I started to, that's the thing, is it was like a shift, and it never really stopped from there on. So it was 2015. I was about 17 or 18 years old.
Okay. And it wasn't attached to like a sport. You just went and started working out.
I was a skateboarder, which is another fun story that we could get into eventually too. I think there's a lot to unpack with all that too, which is going to be fun. But
Are you a skateboarder too?
Well, a lot of the stuff, including the gym, he's done, and obviously he's my brother, and so I kind of picked up similar stuff. So I've skateboarded before. He was much better than me, but we both did it.
Because I asked you, what do you do other than like work and then like hit the gym? And the one hobby you brought up was snowboarding. Is that part of the reason you got into snowboarding was because of skateboarding?
I can speak for Fisher on some of these things too. He's done almost everything. We have a great relationship, and he's done almost everything. The one thing that does separate us is Fisher is insanely good at video games and has learned. He's actually taught me some stuff that he's learned that I didn't think you could learn from video games. So I mean, that's what I would say his hobby is.
Video game? What games do you like?
I guess, yeah, gosh. Yeah. I don't play them as much as I used to, but all sorts of different ones. I've played anything from like your classic Mario games to Pokemon games to, your first-person shooter games to everything. I've played just about everything.
That's awesome. I know. Like what was really big with the kids for a while was Minecraft.
I've played that.
You played Minecraft?
Yeah.
What did you think of my Minecraft homily back in the day?
That was good. I
had a fire axe. What was funny with the Minecraft homily, I found a fire axe, and I had to Google. Like I got the prop first. I went to Walmart, and I was walking, and they had like this Minecraft axe. And I was like, oh, that'd be great for like the first communion homily. Mm-hmm. And I bought it not knowing what it was about anything about Minecraft. And then I took it and I bought it. And then I started Googling it. And then I realized that the connection was that the Minecraft had guaranteed fire damage, which was like every time like you went to church and you received Jesus, like you were guaranteed fire damage, right? It was the kids the first time they were receiving communion and stuff like that. And I remember it was a Nerf gun. And it like shot up, like we get happy and shoots up. Mm-hmm. And the kids, what was so funny, some of the kids loved it. And some of the kids, apparently, the Minecraft fire axe isn't in the real Minecraft game. It's in a second Minecraft game. Oh. And the kids informed me right away that I really didn't know what I was talking about when it was Minecraft. And I was like, you're on to me. You're on to me. So you guys started with mindset, which was the mentality of changing your life, starting like by hitting the gym and doing stuff like that. Why did you guys switch to true metal?
Switching to true metal. So through the journey of trying to create mindset and make it into something that everybody knew about, creating a brand, and you want to spread that message and everything, there's a few things. I ran into a few roadblocks with trademarking issues and stuff like, with the name and stuff like that. So that's one thing, and that kind of like, I just had to get over that. And then two, I didn't feel, so one thing that I realized over the years of calling it mindset and designing mindset, we made very simple designs. And what I realized is all I was trying to do was appeal to, I was almost trying to like play this copycat game with other fitness brands, which, like simple designs, and it wasn't really being my true self, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So one of the main reason that we switched it was because this is what represents me, because this is my brand and my message that I want to give out to the world. And my brother, he's a carbon copy of me, so it's exactly his message too. We get along, we have the same taste of music. We do everything almost exactly the same. So we named it True Metal, and it's metal spelled Mettle. It's like a medieval term, so it's not metal as in heavy metal, which that's a play on words because me and my brother's favorite music is heavy metal. And in the gym, you're lifting heavy metal. So there's kind of like this like super
There's
crazy,
a lot of sub.
That's what they say.
super crazy thing.
They're listening to Sabrina Carpenter, and they're
No.
listening to Taylor Swift.
No. No.
Hey,
Katy Perry maybe, but those two, I don't know.
But that's the play on words with it, there.
Yeah.
And then so the true metal, it's like your true tenacity, your true.
And what is if you were to boil down your message, like what is that authentic self? What is that authentic trueness that you guys are searching for? We're searching to convey.
I would say you can say what you think after
Mhm.
this, Fisher, but after what I went through with the first name and kind of that copycat, the real thing, like the real message of it is to just be yourself, be yourself and don't be afraid of what other people think. Because even with the gym, that's one thing that holds a lot of people back. People don't want to go to the gym because they don't want to be perceived as something. They're just afraid of what other people are going to think. So with a lot of my new designs right now, I've only made 2 shirts since it's been called True Metal. They're a bit more bold and a little bit off of that are not very super simple. Like this is a shirt that I'm wearing right now. It's got a rib cage on the front. It's got a bold lettering on the front, and then we've got patches, and it's sewn up all crazy and everything with how it's put together. And I'm doing that on purpose because that's how I would design a shirt. I'm not basing it off of how somebody else would design a shirt. And then our other designs are going to be more graphic and have bold lettering and the stuff that I think is cool and what's going to get the message across. And I want to let everybody know who I am, and then to inspire them to go and do the same. Some of the clothes that I make don't even look like clothes you would wear in the gym. And I almost intentionally want to do that. So unless Fisher has another piece of it,
I think that's
my thing.
Pretty fair, and I think it's like he's more the design side, and then I'm more like marketing and analytics.
He's the
side.
video game side.
Okay, sure. So I think it's interesting that he said that, and how he is designing them now is how basically how me and him are, but then also how he wants it to be perceived, and then also just to attack like the name strict like True Metal. Literally, metal by definition is your willingness and ability to deal with difficult and challenging situations. And I kind of spoke on it a little bit earlier, but going on the fitness journey and all the stuff that we've learned, it will test you. You'll have to decide how well you're going to put up with the difficult situations. If you're just getting into it, the workout's going to destroy you. You're going to be sore. So then the next day you're supposed to go again, but you're sore. So I'll take it easy. So your willingness to deal with that is like kind of your true metal. It's going to test you. And if you can persevere through that, you'll achieve anything in life, but a little tied to the business, like your goal physique for sure.
Okay. So a couple more questions. The first one is for Miranda.
Okay.
Ooh.
How long have you and Brody been together? How long have you been in Brody's life?
2020, so 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the whole time, I'm assuming Fish has been kind of there the whole time.
Yeah, he's our
They seem to be two peas in a pod,
Yeah.
hanging out all the time.
You do everything
So-
together.
So how would you define Brody and Fish when it comes to like what is their authentic self? Because I think you get to step away from just the branding,
Yeah.
just the fitness influencing. You get to see them as they go to work and do as a father, as a brother. You get to see them as a spouse. They go to church. Those things. Like how would you boil down? How would you define true metal from your perspective?
For true metal, I would define it honestly exactly how they just did. But to define Fisher and Brody,
Mhm.
I would say the one word that comes to my mind is determined. I think it's
Okay.
easy to like judge someone that's trying to start something like a clothing brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard and it takes a lot of time. And, anyone that's ever, showed a little bit of doubt, I'm just like, you don't know them then because they won't stop. They won't stop until they make it. So
I would agree with you. Everything I've known of them,
I think
determined is a fantastic word.
yeah,
to describe it.
it's a good name for their brand. It encompasses them very well. So.
Okay, so before I get to the last question, this is the one I'm going to spring on you guys. Back in like October 2024, I was probably in like the height of my loneliness. I was pretty sad. I was working as a priest. I was surrounded by people. I'm doing all these amazing things, but I wasn't taking care of myself. I was never filling up. I was only pouring out. And at the height, I tipped the scales at 392 pounds. And I made a decision in October 2024 to, you know what, I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to start walking. I'm going to do a lot of things. And right now I'm at like 290. So I've lost 100 pounds since October 2024. However, I just left ministry, right? And it's like I still need to lose another like 60 to 70 pounds. So like if you are giving me advice at 44, like what would you do to say, hey, this is how you get your life back in shape? How would you get back to where you want to be goal-wise?
I have one.
Okay.
I would just say it is like the mental part of it for sure, but I think you need to just focus on like moving your body in whatever way. And I think walking is actually really underrated. I think whole foods matter so much, you know, eating whole foods, water intake, like all that. But yeah, just move your body, fuel your body. I mean, everything that's healthy for you, God made, like from the earth, you know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, I guess that's my take on it. You guys have a much harsher approach, I'm sure.
Not too, but I have a, I'll give.
Because I need to get the guns back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, don't worry, I got you. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know. You said walking and stuff. I don't know how much.
It's so underrated. Walking is so underrated.
It is. Yeah. I was gonna say in terms of that, like weightlifting. Yeah, I was gonna say, have you done? Because weightlifting, I mean, obviously you're gonna lose weight, but you're also gonna build muscle, which, especially, I mean, for guys and girls, but for guys especially, like. You want some muscle. Not everyone just says they're trying to lose weight.
Well, muscle is very important
from a situation.
It keeps you living longer. You know.
There's a big point to it. As you build muscle as well from just resistance training, then your maintenance calories will literally go up to maintain your muscle, and you'll naturally stay at a more comfortable weight. You'll naturally be easier to move the weight that you do have. So I would say definitely some sort of like pretty vigorous weights training, like obviously work your way into it, but I would definitely obviously we can give you some kind of like ways to go about it. But yeah, just if you're not started weightlifting already, I would definitely start doing that. It's good, for your joints,
I brought back some light weightlifting, but I haven't really incorporated a lot of consistent weightlifting yet. You know, it's been, and I think I'm ready to start. Like, how would you recommend someone who, let's say, like in my case, like, hey, during high school, I was in decent shape. I played football. I did those things. And then I kind of, entered the regular world, like I got a job where I was maybe sedentary. I really haven't moved around that much. I've spent a lot of time playing video games or watching movies, eating fast food. And every time you make that decision, you're always making that decision in this like, well, I'm busy today. This is the quicker solution today, right? But cumulatively over time, all of a sudden you've put on a lot of weight. You can't work out like you used to. Like, how would you ramp yourself into getting to where like you have that mindset that you're putting your physical fitness like as a priority in your life? Like, how would you ramp that mindset up?
If you want my answer really quick, it's almost like super simple because you already did it. You went from 300 and what was it?
392.
392 to what now?
290.
To 290, and you've lost 100 pounds. So whatever, like you already have the answer in your mind. You already know what to do. You just need to keep replicating that, because whatever got you to lose 100 pounds is what's going to get you to lose the next 100 pounds or whatever your goal weight is. It is like everything that Miranda said and Fisher said, and all the little steps and tricks you can are all important. But in my opinion, which is why I created the brand called Mindset too in the beginning, is because none of that is going to matter if you don't have it in your mind. You can know everything. Like you're not going to get in shape by watching a YouTube video on working out. You're only going to get in shape by going to work out. It's almost so simple. You know what I mean? But whatever got you, which you know the most detail about it more than I do, whatever got you to make that shift from one, I'm not going above 392 and I'm going to start going back down, that you just need to, if that's a picture of yourself and you put it on the mirror from back then and you're saying, I'm never going to be that guy again, that's what you need to do. You need to keep repeating whatever that spark is that did that. Like I said, it's almost so simple. And a lot of people have that's the same solution for a lot of people, not just you.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do. It just you just got to keep repeating the pattern that got it going.
And Brody Fish, what do you think, man?
Kind of, I mean, obviously, nail on the head with that one. That's kind of like huge. That's the initial piece. And then I guess a little bit more, I don't know what you call it, but my angle on it is like build it into a habit. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Like, oh, Fisher, Brody, how are you guys so disciplined? How do you go every day? But then in my head, I'm like, okay, where do I fit the gym in today? I'm on vacation. I'm like, oh, what gym do they have? Maybe I could do it after we're done doing whatever. And it's just because it's a habit. It's like waking up and brushing your teeth. Like you do it enough and you do it consistently enough, once it's a habit, then it's over. Now it's just a matter of time. So if you can build it into a habit, it's not like something you're like, oh, I have to go do. It's like you're brushing your teeth. You just wake up and you kind of do it. You see where it fits. You really only need like 45 minutes to an hour. Like I said, he kind of said it. I love video games. I played them all the time. People use that as an excuse. I do both. I do that and snowboarding and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot more time in your day. If you build it into a habit, you'll stick with it.
So what I'm hearing is prepare your mindset, move your body, and habituate the virtue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of that, because I don't think that's just a physical thing. I think it's also like a mental or spiritual thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I go along with this podcast, because you guys are going to be helping me with this podcast, Unkick the Bucket, changing our algorithm together, like challenge me on that, because sometimes what happens, I get too busy to actually work out. I try to justify it. My tendency, my pattern, my bad pattern, if it's cake pop demon hunters, is like I neglect myself to take care of other people. That's kind of the thing I've always kind of done, to the point where sometimes like it was detrimental to my health. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to keep you guys, I'll be texting you, and I'll be trying to get there. And, but the habituation, I think you're absolutely right about that, Fish. Like if you make something a habit, then it becomes something you don't have to think about that much. Mm-hmm. And that's what Unkick the Bucket is about. Mm-hmm. Because I want to switch to that, because we're gonna play this game together. And this is the first time you're playing this game, Fish. And what Unkick the Bucket is like, how do we habituate our eyes to see the world the way that God sees the world? Like think about it like this. When Jesus was in, we celebrate Christmas. Jesus is born. He's in the crib, right? Mm-hmm. And then eventually he opens up his eyes. Like, how do you think he saw the world? Do you think he saw the world as his friend or his enemy?
Definitely
his friend, for sure.
Absolutely, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus looked at himself, did he think of himself as a friend or like the enemy that's unlovable or something like that?
Friend.
As a friend. And yet somehow, because we have all these wounds, we have all these problems, we have all these back history and struggles and maybe addictions, or we let people down, we wake up and we're kind of like, you know what? I'm not worth investing in myself. And also I kind of doubt whether the other person is worth investing in either. Like I let fear and I let pride and I let discouragement dictate the way I see the world. But what Unkick the Bucket, changing our algorithm, is about how do we actually change that algorithm to something that is rooted in humility and encouragement, to be friends to ourselves and also friends to everybody else. And so this game is show and tell of the human heart. And it's simple. All we do to develop our friendship is share what I call a bucket story. And a bucket story is something that kind of illuminates that desire that we have to be better friends to ourselves or friends to other people. And I'll go first. I'll share my first bucket story here. And here's my bucket item that I brought, a book that I want to get to. When I was in seminary at Mount Angel Seminary in Oregon, like I had the chance to study two things, right? It was like philosophy, which everyone has to study before they become a priest. And I had a chance to take literature. And literature was my absolute favorite thing to study because but it wasn't right away because it was like, reading, come on. But there was two professors that came into my life. One was Dr. Seymour House, and one was named Dr. Creighton Lindsay. And they both kind of taught me the two different ways to see literature, right? Dr. Lindsay was the very analytical guy. He came in and he was like, this is a protagonist, this is a foil, this is this, this is this, this is how you actually write the story. And Dr. House came in and like challenged my imagination in a way that nobody ever did before. But the reason I was a good student to him was that like he came from a place of friendship. He genuinely desired to teach me like what he saw, his insights, because he saw the world in this amazing way. And he gave me this poem. I want to share with you a little bit about this poem because I think it's important. It's God's Grandeur. And I think a lot of people might recognize it, but there's a couple lines in it. The world is charged with the grandeur of God, right? And it goes on, it says some other things in the poem that I don't want to go into. But then when it talks about where this grandeur is, he says, generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge and shares man's smell. And I always love that line because sometimes when we think of like, where do we find the great things, the holy things, the grace things, the whatever you want to call it, right? The little Easter eggs in our life. We sometimes think of stuff that's far away or stuff that's like distant or above me, or it's not in my everyday life. But what the poet's saying, what Gerard Manley Hopkins is saying, is he's actually like, it's in your toil. Like when you guys wake up at 5 a.m. to go work out or whatever, it's like in that sacrifice. When a waitress is working 3 straight double shifts and is struggling, but she's got to put food on the table, it's in that sacrifice. It's in that sacrifice when you're spending day and day and day and day with Creed, right? And doing all little things, all that attentiveness that you need to give a toddler. Like the God's grandeur is in actually like our smell. And I think that's like a cool little thought. And Dr. House was the one that introduced me to this poem. And he goes off on like this 45-minute class lecture homily. It was awesome. It was one of the best homilies I've ever heard in my life. And at the end of the class, I was like, Dr. House, you could have been a preacher. And he looked at me and he was like, damn right. And then he walked out, right? And I was like, I love this man. And I remember they helped me write my capstone in undergraduate, and they did a wonderful job with that. And then when I graduated, Dr. Lindsay gave me this book. And this book was the one that he used for his dissertation when he actually became a doctor. And he basically said, like, you know, I just want to give you something very personal as a gift because I see so much amazing potential in you. And it was a very heartfelt gift. But I was moving to Rome at the time. And so I put the gift in a box. And I put the gift in the box for like 5 years. And then I pull it out and I realize I never actually read the book that Dr. Lindsay gave me until last year when I flew to Germany to be with my mom when she was in a coma. And I sat next to her and I was like just talking to her. And at first it's like you pray a rosary, you talk to her, you kind of, and after a while you're like, I need some structure. And so I got this book and I read it out loud to my mom. And you know what? I didn't like it.
Oh.
like I read the book and I was like, you know what? I think the irony I missed, it just wasn't that funny. But the thing was it took forever to read it. But the only reason I read it was because I loved Dr. Lindsay so much. And I loved Dr. House so much. And the reason I am telling this bucket story for a very particular reason is I heard through the grapevine that Dr. House's health is not doing well right now. And I haven't chatted with him in years. And so like This is my bucket story. That when you have someone that made such a large impact on your life, you should let them know. And so hopefully this week, not a hopefully, like I plan on this week, trying to find a way to reach out to Dr. House and Dr. Lindsay and letting them know how big of an impact they made on me. So my bucket story was about my journey into literature, and I'll share that with you. Now, Fish, you get to pick out of Miranda and Brody which bucket story you want to hear next. Now, you guys could give a little snippet, a little preview if you want.
Okay. Mine, simply put, is helping a perfect stranger.
Okay.
Brody?
What a follow up.
Mine is about a friend helping me when I don't feel like I deserve it.
Oh, they're both good. We'll start with Miranda's first.
All right.
Okay, I'm reading mine.
It
A red homily is not a dead homily. Okay.
is.
It is.
Okay. There was a time in my life where something really small turned into something really meaningful. It started in the parking lot of the job I was previously at, just a normal day. Nothing special about it. 2 cars next to each other, windows down, one quick glance that turned into a conversation. And in that moment, I saw something familiar. Something I'd seen before in someone I love. Track marks. So instead of looking away, I asked about it. It wasn't a comfortable question or conversation. It wasn't a polished moment, but it was honest, and so was he. What was supposed to be a passing interaction turned into exchanged numbers and then into checking in. Just simple things at first, like, are you okay? Where are you? Nothing big, nothing heroic, just showing up in small ways. Over time, those small things added up. There came a point where he was ready for something different, and I got to be a small part of that turning point, helping him take a step toward getting clean, toward something better. And from there, a friendship grew, a real one, the kind where you meet families, share stories, and realize that the person who was once a stranger is now someone you genuinely care about. And the thing is, I went into it hoping I could help him, hoping I could maybe make things a little bit lighter for him, even just for a minute. But what I didn't expect was what it would do for me, because somewhere along the way, while his cup was being filled, so was mine. It reminded me that sometimes the most ordinary moments carry the most weight, and that a single conversation, one that could have easily never happened, can change the direction of someone's life, and your own right along with it. And that showing up for someone else, even in the smallest way, has a way of giving back more than you ever planned to give. I put a Band-Aid in the bucket to say, not that I healed everything, but to represent that I just cared enough to tend to something that was hurting, or someone that was hurting.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Put the Band-Aid in the bucket. That is awesome. Brody, what's your bucket story today?
My story is about a friend that I have that really shows me what it means to be a friend, in my opinion. And he kind of sometimes it highlights the fact that I am not always the best friend. We're talking about filling up and pouring out. You know, this story highlights how, for me, how I could pour out more because of how much he has poured out for me. So the story isn't really like a step-by-step story leading up to a certain event. I just want to point out that like I have this friend, and we would hang out, and we've gone to the gym together, we've hung out at my house together, and we've watched movies, and just a few of the things that like friends do, like the basic friendship that people think is what friendship is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what he does different that I don't do is he always reaches out to me and just tries to see how I'm doing, all the time. And the thing that I realize is I'm like, dang, I don't really reach out to him that much, and we're good friends. What people would say is good friends. And, it kind of sits with me when that happens. I'm like, oh, I need to like reach out. And for some reason, I just seem to keep failing to do so. So my story, I want to kind of like help the people watching this video kind of like learn with me as well, because I think this whole podcast can be a good experience for me to fix this problem. So the main point of my story is that one day I was just sitting, I heard a knock on my door, you know, when like someone knocks on your door and you're like, oh, I know I'm not expecting anybody. I'm just gonna ignore it, you know, and you're trying to peek through the blinds to see who maybe it is and stuff. I just thought it was like a solicitor or whatever. And I haven't talked to this.
So,
Cool.
so we had some technical difficulties. The battery died, which happens when we're trying new things. But I wanted Brody to have a chance to finish his bucket story. And you were saying that like your friend came over with something, right?
Yeah, so he came over with baby clothes for my son. And he just, I hadn't talked to him for 2 months. And like I said, it's kind of points out where I feel like I'm falling short in terms of like being a good friend, because he's doing what I believe a good friend does. And that's he keeps pouring himself out, even when I'm not pouring myself out to him. He's not doing it for anything in return, obviously. And that's what I think being a true friend really is. And that's why that was my bucket story.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brody. Now, Fish, you're a guest. And so when I called you yesterday, I kind of laid out the premise of what a bucket story is.
Mhm.
And so I'm very curious what your bucket story is going to be for your first ever bucket.
All right. Well, yeah, I think I got the gist. So I kind of want to start a little bit with the prop for it because it'll make it a little bit more sense. So I brought it's a true metal hat, right? So it's of my brother and I's brand. But when choosing the hat, I chose the one with the most sweat stains. It looks like, you know, kind of the most torn up, beat up one. Because I feel like two big pieces on, like, for friendship is that sacrifice is huge. That's like what makes a true friend. And then I also kind of wanted to get onto the fact that like a friend can, you think of friends and you think of just people you've met randomly throughout time. But a friend there's no like prerequisite to be a friend. Like a friend could be your like family member or someone you've met or someone you've never met and it was online. But so for this kind of the story is just, I brought this hat because yesterday, I do car sales, and when I was working on getting 3 sales yesterday, which, you know, soccer, it's a hat trick.
Mhm.
So I also thought, little pun, bring the
You
hat.
put a hat
Yeah. But I wanted to talk about this because when I was doing them, I got like 1 car sold, and then the other 2 started to like overlap. And then the person who basically, the friend that came to help me out was Brody. And that was kind of like I said, when they were starting to overlap, it was getting really stressful because I had people who were, you know, impatient because they were waiting for their car. And then I had these other people I was working with. And my brother and I, you know, usually like carpool to work since we come from the same house. But he was going to leave early just because he had no deals to worry about. So he was going to leave early. But I didn't even say anything to him. But he noticed that I was like stressed out and that it was like a lot to handle these 2 deals at the same time. So he just told his friend that he's like, okay, I'm actually just going to stay and help my brother. So he could have left, you know, work on time, didn't have to stay, didn't have to help me, but chose to stay and help some of my customers while I worked with my other ones. And so he, like I said, sacrificed his time. He didn't have to do that. And then, like I said, I think it's important to note that he's my brother, and people put, you know, family can be good, it can be bad, it can be everything, but they can also be friends. So that was kind of what I wanted to highlight on because, like I said, he was there and he sacrificed for me. I said, yeah, beyond just like a brother, that's like what I look for in a good friend and what I would hope to do for others.
That's awesome, man. So one last question before we go.
Your bill will be in the mail.
Oh, okay.
Fisher,
Mm-hmm.
how would you define friendship?
So kind of like I was saying there, I think friendship at its core is when, you know, you think of friends, like you said, classic friendship stuff. Oh, you watch movies together, you hang out together. I think friendship is where when you really need someone and you really need help, it's the person that's there. It's the person that's giving you the phone call. It's the person that they had to leave work to come help you because you were in a tight situation. I think the people that are actually like there when it matters. It's great to watch movies together and to hang out, but I think true friendship is helping other people, regardless of how you're affected by it. So,
Miranda, how would you define friendship?
I think. Oh, I think.
And you can't Google it. You can't Google it.
Oh.
I'm gonna go back to Miranda in a second. Brody, how would you define friendship?
So based off my story a little bit, I think that friendship is being there for somebody, even if, like, let's see, how do I say it a little better? Valuing somebody even when you don't know exactly how you're valued by that person.
Mm-hmm.
Back is
Zero expectation.
a zero expectation. You know,
That's right.
I believe I think that's what friends do.
Yeah, I think it's just people you feel safe with, and
Okay.
you know, people you feel safe with, and like even when life gets busy, you know, you reach out and you're there for that person, you know.
I think those are all wonderful answers. You know, like how I would define it, it goes back to that scripture that I pointed out. There's no greater love than this, than he who lays down his life for his friend. And so, like, I think we look at Jesus on the cross and we see, like, he is the ultimate friend to me. And because he's the ultimate friend to me, I should be the ultimate friend to myself. And then I should be the ultimate friend to my neighbor. And if we do that, like if we enter the world with that mindset, I think we could like change whatever hatred is in society and anger is in society and despair. And we could actually encourage each other and love each other. Fish, thank you for coming on. I'm going to give you some bucket bracelets for coming in. You're part of the bucket brigade now. We don't know what to call it. So followers, is it the bucket brigade, the bucketeers? What was the other one?
Or the bucket heads.
The bucket heads.
Unless somebody comes up with something
or you got something
more
better.
clever.
And, you know, I want to thank you guys for listening to our first ever podcast. We're going to get a lot better at this, but we had a lot of fun. And we do genuinely want to hear your stories because we do think that if we share positivity, like it could just make us better people. And so if you have a bucket story that you want to share to me, and I'll read each and every one, at least in the beginning, right? Email me at bucketstory@unkickthebucket.com. And every now and then a good story Miranda might read on one of our podcasts. So guys, it's a pleasure. I love you and I consider you my friend. And hopefully I'll see you around. Take care.